Lucia came back from vacation, and it was rare that she came to see me the first time. She gave me a brand name bag and said she bought it for me with the money she earned from working. I laughed and said, "Your grandma loves you the most, so you should give this bag to your grandma. It's not suitable for your grandma to use such a fancy bag. Just take it." Lucia's expression and tone both expressed her disgust for the bag. I pretended not to notice, touched the obvious scratches on the bottom of the bag and said to her, "Thank you." I accepted it. Lucia's expression looked better and said, "Mom wants to discuss something with you." I knew that when my daughter, who had never been close to me, suddenly showed me great attention, there must be something wrong. I asked calmly what was wrong. "My classmate's father's unit raised funds to build a house, and it's very cheap." I nodded and said, "Okay, I'll tell your father when he comes back." Lucia was stunned for a moment, probably because she didn't expect me to agree so straightforwardly. "The money is not all with your father. Your father has to make the decision on such important matters. All along, she has only informed me of all the big and small things in the family, and has never discussed them with me." What I meant was, I was too stupid before. I didn't put myself in the right position in this family, and I asked a few stupid questions. Now I won't do that, and buying a house is simply nonsense. It was Lucia and her father, my husband, who conspired to empty the house as a smokescreen. The clue came from a photo taken half a year ago. Lucia's Chinese landlord was very nice. He would cook Chinese food for her every weekend. She would take pictures and send them to the family group. Every time I would click on it and tell her my father, grandmother, and aunt a few words. Lucia ignored me most of the time, but she would chat with other people for a long time. But that time was different. I told her that the flu was spreading and asked her to pay more attention. She actually replied to me thanking her mother for her concern. I just thought that the child had grown up and finally became sensible. I was so happy that I couldn't help clicking on the photo and looking at it for a long time. As a result, I found Su Lian. Su Lian intervened in my marriage in the 10th year of my marriage. The mistress Lu Xuan loved her so much that she would rather leave the house and divorce me. At that time, I still morally kidnapped by the 4 words, "A mother must be strong." I endured humiliation for the sake of my child and took care of my sick father-in-law wholeheartedly, which finally made him turn over a new leaf. However, Su Lian's repeated provocations at home have become a shadow in my life, so even if there were only some blurry reflections on the tableware, I still recognized him. At first, I comforted myself that maybe he was just someone who looked similar to him. After all, Lucia had also seen Su Lian. He had been scared to tears when he came to her house to provoke her before. How could he live in her house? But after I looked through all the photos he sent, I discovered in despair that his landlord abroad was Su Lian. There is no doubt that Su Lian has a tattoo on the inside of his wrist, which is a blooming lotus. His landlord has an identical tattoo on the inside of his wrist. I said that I was the one who took care of all the big and small things in the family. Lu Xuan was particularly active in the accommodation issue for our daughter when she went abroad. It turned out that it was because of his old lover. He video called our daughter every few days and sent her a lot of delicious food. I think it was also because of his old lover. To confirm this, I installed cameras at home. Sure enough, every time Lu Xuan hid in the study to chat with his daughter, as soon as the door was closed, the person in the camera would immediately change to Su Lian. At that time, my whole body was cold, and the remaining bit of luck in my heart disappeared the moment I saw my daughter smiling and handing the phone to Su Lian. The fact that Lucia lived in the small Sanjia that once scared him to tears and had a good relationship with him made me almost collapse. Just as I picked up the phone and couldn't wait to divorce Lu Xuan, I heard the conspiracy between the father and daughter in the surveillance video that continued to play. "Dad, I have a way to make my mother leave the house, so when my daughter returned to China and asked to buy a house, I didn't ask anything. Lucia just treated me as a scumbag and successfully fooled me." I was overjoyed. She hugged me rarely and said hypocritically, "Mom, you are so good." I patted her on the back and also hypocritically, "Mom believes in you when you grow up." Lucia's body stiffened slightly, and the look in her eyes when she looked at me, it's a bit complicated. The mother, whom he had always hated, suddenly became understanding. I don't know if he felt even a little bit of guilt. It doesn't matter. I don't care anymore. In the afternoon, Lu Xuan came back from playing cards and rarely went into the kitchen to cook for his baby daughter. This cooking skill was practiced when she was entangled with Su Lian before. Xuelian's hands are white and tender. She couldn't bear to let her cook, so she taught herself. This is Xuelian. I don't know how many times she has boasted to me. I didn't go to the kitchen to help. I went back to the room to watch Douyin. Lu Xuyuan asked me to help. I laughed. "Aren't you going to cook for Xiaoya? I won't steal the limelight." I was stupid before. I did all the preparation work and cleaned up in the end. Lu Xuan could take away all my hard work by weighing the spoon twice and moving his lips. Many things are like this, making Lucia feel that her father is better than her mother. As for education and learning, Lu Shuyuan never intervened because he knew that such things would offend his daughter. As time went by, with Lucia is getting better and better, and he is getting more and more disgusted with me. Not only will Lu Shuyuan not let his daughter understand, he will also fan the flames. Not only that, he will play the good guy when I educate my daughter, making me look more and more hateful. Now that I have recognized his routine, I will naturally not be fooled. I should also let Lucia know that the table of dishes that his father so-called hard work made in the past was mostly due to my contribution. 3 hours later, 4 dishes and a soup were finally served. Lu Shuyuan was angry with me and didn't plan to call me. In order to make the plan go smoothly, Lucia knocked on the door and invited me to dinner. The family of 3 sat down. He couldn't wait to take a bite. The vinegar and potato shreds he missed the most. His face changed slightly. Why is it so bad? Lu Shuyuan is righteous. Isn't it because your mother doesn't make it for you? I looked aggrieved. It's not that mom doesn't make it. It's not that your dad has to show you his skills. Lucia realized it later. The potato shreds were made by you before. Although I no longer care about how my daughter sees me, some things still I have to let her know how her father, who seemed to be so sincere to her, fooled her. I pretended to be surprised. So you don't know. I didn't understand what Lucia said. Lu Shuyuan asked Qin Qing impatiently, is it necessary to bring up such a small matter? I smiled and said it was unnecessary. So didn't I say anything before? Lu Shuyuan was choked and couldn't speak for a long time. Lucia didn't speak either and ate silently. After dinner, I still took the initiative to clean up the dishes. The father and daughter ran to the study, and I put on headphones and turned on the surveillance slowly. They were discussing how to fool me. The call was agreed long ago through an international video call, and I was just waiting for my daughter to return to China to try it. I saw Lucia suddenly asked an off-topic question. Dad's shredded potatoes were all made by my mother before, not by you. Lu Shuyuan was stunned for a moment. Listening to your mother's nonsense, I was too lazy to expose him. I sneered in my heart. Lucia was spoiled by Lu Shuyuan and her grandmother. She has a lot of problems and is very cunning. She is the same to her family. She is letting others go. In the eyes of the child, it was not a big deal at all. But when it came to Lucia, once he as a father lied, he would lose his daughter's trust. In order to deal with their plan, I originally wanted to sow discord between the father and daughter. I didn't expect that there would be a rift between them without me even doing anything. Later, Lu Shuyuan pretended to be serious and called me to the living room. Xiaoya tell you he wants to buy a house. I nodded and said I fully support it. Lu Shuyuan didn't expect the plan to go so smoothly. A hint of ecstasy flashed in his eyes. Let's go to see the house tomorrow. Okay, in the past, how could they ask me to see the house? I am simply an insignificant existence in this family, but a part of the plan, waiting for me to jump in. The next afternoon we went to a formal sales office. Maybe they had agreed with the sales lady in advance to give me a surprise or something. The other party quoted me half of the market price. It was so cheap. The sales lady smiled and said it was originally a welfare house built by a company, but now it is when the funds were not turning over, they were in a hurry to sell it. I think this house is good. What do you think? Lu Shuyuan rarely asked for my opinion. Lucia finally respected me as a mother. I also think this house is good with 4 bedrooms. Even if I get married in the future, my father and I can live there. But if you are not satisfied, let's look at a few more houses. I saw that the 2 of them were acting sincerely, and I was also acting like a drama spirit with a look of surprise. I can live in this house too. Lucia took my arm intimately. Of course, buying such a big house is considering you and my father. My daughter is really smart. She knows what I desire most and only remembers the softest place in my heart. I also continued to act. Xiaoya, you have really grown up. Mom is very relieved. However, 2 hours later, Lucia told us with a heavy heart that the house might not be available. It was my fault that I didn't ask clearly before. If you want to get the house at a low price, you have to pay the full amount. Lu Shuyuan said angrily, just say there is no such thing as pie in the sky. Lucia sighed, then forget it. How could I forget it if I asked at the right time? Otherwise, let's sell this house. I'll live with your dad. This is an old and shabby house left by your grandparents. The original plan of the father and daughter was to use moral kidnapping to force me to agree to sell the house. None of them expected that I would take the initiative to bring it up. I looked at the surprised Lucia and said, Xiaoya, you are grown up now and have your own judgment. No matter what you want to do, Mom will fully support you. Don't worry, I will say the same nice words as Lu Shuyuan. Lu Shuyuan was overjoyed. I have a friend who sells houses. I'll go and consult him. As he said that, he went into the study. I also made an excuse to consult my friend and went back to the bedroom. I turned on the surveillance. Lu Shuyuan was asking for credit with Su Lian. I was awesome, wasn't I? I made him agree to sell the house with just a few words. Su Lian said coquettishly, yes, you are the best. Hurry up and sell the house and come to my side. I can't wait to see you. Don't worry, I will bring Xiaoya to reunite with you as soon as possible. The two of them were stuck together for a while, and Su Lian seemed to speak casually. Lu, there is something I don't know whether I should tell you. With our relationship, is there anything we can't tell you? Hey, I think what's wrong with Xiaoya? Her temper is getting worse and worse. I guess that Su Lian would get rid of Lucia after using her, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. I thought Lu Xuan would not be easily provoked, but he actually asked Su Lian with a worried look on his face. Is he mean to you? That's not the case. Although Xu Lian said so, she sounded like a tearful person. Lu Shuyuan became more and more nervous. Oh, don't cry. Don't I have me here? Don't I want to make things difficult for you? I'll be angry if you don't say it. Under Lu Shuyuan's threat, Xu Lian finally spoke reluctantly. Xiaoya loses her temper with me every other day, and it's really difficult for me to deal with it. The main reason is that she is not her biological mother, so I dare not say harsh words. It's not that I dislike Xiaoya, but I'm mainly worried that with her character, she will suffer in the future when she enters the society. Xu Lian added fuel to the fire, and Lu Xian was furious. He let Lucia live in Xu Lian's house to accompany him and relieve his boredom, not to let him add to him. It was blocked. After hanging up the video, he heard Lu Xian standing at the door and yelling, asking Lucia to come in. Lucia thought her father was just acting and didn't take it seriously. She closed the door with an excited look on her face. What did Aunt Eight say? Lu Xuyuan was stunned for a moment. Then he remembered that the follow-up plan still depended on his daughter, so he took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. Your Aunt Su Lian praised you for being smart. Xiaoya, she has planned so much for you. You have to remember her kindness. Lucia nodded excitedly. I will, Dad. Lu Shuyuan was not satisfied with his daughter's reaction. He needed him to make a serious statement. After all, he was about to go abroad to be with his old lover. He didn't want Lucia to affect their relationship. In the surveillance video, Lu Shuyuan's face sank. Since you know how good Aunt Su Lian is to you, don't make her angry in the future. Lucia finally realized that something was wrong and asked loudly, when did I make her unhappy? She has a bad temper. Sometimes she would get angry just by reminding him not to waste food or something like that. Womandoila English, I was hysterical. I thought the father and daughter had a good relationship. Lu Shuyuan was at most just unhappy, but he didn't mean to monitor you. He also yelled at Lu Shuyuan. Lu Shuyuan was startled and I was stunned for a moment. It wasn't that Lu Shuyuan was more polite, but that I was the one who said all the bad words before, so I was the one who bore Lu Shuyuan's anger. Now Lu Shuyuan blamed him for Su Lian, and it was natural for him to bear his daughter's anger. I walked out gloatingly and knocked on the study door. What's wrong with Sean? Oh Mimi, how come as soon as I finished speaking, Lucia rushed out, slammed the door and went out. I would have been worried before and chased after her immediately. This time I just stayed where I was pretending to be ignorant and asked Lu Xuan what happened to Xiaoya. It was the first time Lu Xuan was yelled at by his daughter. Obviously, he felt uncomfortable. After adjusting his mood for a long time, he spoke irritably. It's still about the house. I pretended to believe it. Why can't he buy a house again? Xiaoya's classmate is urging me. I said I have to wait a few more days. Oh my god, he is like this. Although Lu Xuan said this, he probably couldn't swallow the anger of being yelled at by his daughter, and suddenly got angry at me. Look at how you spoiled him. He yells at the slightest thing. I was startled by his sudden anger, and then asked him innocently, Xiaoya often yells at me like this. Didn't you say that he was still young and asked me to be more tolerant? How come I suddenly spoiled him? Lu Xuan was slapped in the face by his own words and said angrily, forget it, I won't talk to you anymore. I quickly sold the house, and soon my mother-in-law called and blamed me for making my daughter suffer, and for kicking Xiaoya out of the house so late. You as a mother are really heartless. I know that my mother-in-law turned on the hands, free for Lucia to listen. She has coaxed her by scolding me since she was a child, so I started acting again. It's not me this time, it's Xiaoya. And his father, I don't know what Shuyuan said that made Xiaoya look so angry. After Xiaoya left, she blamed me for spoiling Xiaoya. I think Xiaoya is still young, it is normal for her to lose her temper, but he was not giving in. Later, I made a few more casual remarks to sow discord. Before my mother-in-law spoke, I suddenly changed the subject. Mom, I know Xiaoya is angry and won't answer my call. Please tell her for me that no matter what she does, I, as a mother, will support her. The father and daughter quarreled, but it did not affect their progress in scheming against me. The next afternoon, Lu Xuan and Lucia, when they rarely invited me to dinner, raised a new issue. To enjoy the qualification of buying a house, one must be the first house buyer, but Lu Xuan and Lucia are in the same household register. Counting the house where my mother-in-law lives in this house, they already have 2 houses. The 2 sighed and I buried my head in my food. Lu Xuan wanted to use this opportunity to divorce me in fake way, completely get rid of me, and then give Su Lian a legitimate identity. As for the divorce, I also wanted it very much, but I could not bring it up. I had to let them say it. Only in this way could I take the opportunity to put forward my request. Lucia pretended to be anxious. Not long after, Lucian spoke in embarrassment. I thought of a way, that is what Lucia was anxious to ask Dad, such a low house price. If you miss it, you will never have it again. I agreed with him. Yes, Xuan, what can you do? You just say that in order for Xiaoya to buy a house, we must overcome any difficulties. Put it in the past, buying a house is such a big thing. Even if I can't make a decision, I will definitely ask a few questions. After all, the father and daughter are not very reliable when encountering things. They also know my temper, so they prepared a set of rhetoric early, and didn't want me to be so straightforward and make the father and daughter unable to do anything. Lucia looked at me with no more annoyance and said dryly, "Thank you, Mom." I can see his hesitation, but that's all. He won't feel any guilt towards me, let alone give up the plan. Su Lian has given too much, brand name bags, high-end cosmetics, and promised offers from big companies. Lu Xuan will not owe me anything, so after a brief silence, he said the only way was a fake divorce. I pretended to be hesitant about the fake divorce. Lu Xuan quickly said, Qing, don't worry, it's just a fake divorce. We'll get remarried after we buy a house. Lucia also started to scold, my dad is so old, are you still afraid that he will run away? In this way, the money from the sale of the house will be transferred to your account, and then the owner of the new house will be you. I was a little surprised. Lu Xuan and Lucia's plan did not include transferring the money to me. This was my plan. I planned to use some means to force them to transfer the house purchase money to me first after they proposed a fake divorce, but I never expected that Lucia would take the initiative to bring it up. Lu Xuan was stunned for a moment and quickly laughed it off. Xiaoya, look at what you said, your mother can still not believe you. His face was full of smiles, but the look he gave Lucia was full of warnings. Lucia didn't care and rolled her eyes at him. Interesting, I haven't had time to exert my strength yet. The father-daughter alliance has cracks, which is not surprising. After all, Lu Xuyuan's kindness to Lucia is only reflected in his words, and Lucia's love for her father is only based on his indulgence of her. In this case, of course I have to make good use of it. I said to Lu Xuan, you misunderstood, Xiaoya didn't think I didn't trust him, he just said that because he trusted me. After I finished speaking, I smiled gently at Lucia, isn't it, Xiaoya? I put myself and Lucia in the same camp without leaving a trace. Lu Xuan subconsciously refuted, forget it, Xiaoya can still trust you, and he regretted it after he finished speaking. Now is the time to strive for my greatest trust. His words are tantamount to destroying the plan. Lucia, who was already dissatisfied with Lu Xuan, was even more furious and couldn't help shouting, who do you think you are? Why do you provoke the relationship between me and my mother, the restaurant public place? Lucia's roar attracted the attention of many customers, but I didn't care. It was not the first or second time that she yelled in public. I felt ashamed before, but later I became numb. But Lu Xuyuan couldn't accept it. In front of him, his daughter, who had always been well-behaved, lost her temper at him one after another. His patriarchy was greatly impacted, but so many years of indulgence had made Lu Xuyuan unable to educate his daughter. He could only point at my nose and roar in anger. Look at what you have spoiled your child into. I ignored the eyes of the crowd and protected Lucia behind me. My baby daughter, if I don't love her, who will? Lu Xuyuan didn't know what to say and left angrily. I turned my head to look at Lucia, and was about to continue to provoke the father and daughter, but I didn't want to run into Lucia's moved eyes. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't want Lucia to have feelings for me at this time, whether he or his father. I don't want anything, I just want money, so I changed the subject inside. Xiaoya, he is your father after all. When you see me starting to preach, Lucia's face showed the same annoyance as before. He waved his hand signaling me to shut up and also walked away. Lu Xuyuan went home and complained to Su Lian via video. He was right. Xiaoya is old and can't be controlled. When I go back this time, I will let him move out. The day before, Su Lian wanted Lucia to move out, but Lu Xuyuan still disagreed. He changed his mind just because his own daughter yelled at him. Lu Xuyuan's fatherly love is really cheap. Su Lian easily guessed that there was a conflict between the two fathers, and his tone was full of happiness that could not be concealed. That's right. Xiaoya will eventually have to face the dangers of society by himself. It is for his own good to let him adapt early. Lu Xuyuan sighed and blamed me for not realizing this early, which led to his being too willful now. Then he told Su Lian something went wrong with the plan. After listening to Lu Xuyuan's complaints, Su Lian didn't take it seriously. Just give it to him. How could that be? Lu Xuyuan was angry. He had been eating and drinking my food for free all these years. Now that we're divorced, he still wants my house. Although I knew Lu Xuyuan was a rubbish, it was still hard for me to accept him despising me so righteously. It was he who begged me to quit my job, give up my bright future, and be his solid backing. Now that the children have grown up, he has made enough money to retire early and lie down, and I have become a useless parasite. Su Lian advised softly, okay, I know you're wrong, just listen to me. After walking outside for a while, he went home. When he entered the house, Lucia and Lu Shuyuan had reconciled as before. It was all Su Lian's credit. I heard him giving advice to Lu Shuyuan in the video, saying that he should do as Lucia said and transfer the money from selling the house to me first, and then his relative can pretend to be that Mo Su. Some classmates asked me to transfer the money to his relatives. As for Lucia, he planned to do the same as before and take a few brand name bags that he didn't carry and pretend to give them to him as new ones. It seems that the effect is as good as before, okay? Lucia held me intimately and said, "It's a deal. I'll transfer all the money from the sale of the house to you, and then you can fake a divorce with Dad, okay?" I pretended to be hesitant and said, "Okay." The father and daughter looked at each other. Their eyes were full of joy that the conspiracy had succeeded. I was also very happy. I got a large sum of money without any effort. Maybe I was too stupid before, so Lu Shuyuan didn't have the slightest guard. In order to let me relax my vigilance, he even signed a divorce agreement with me, which clearly stated that all the money from buying the house would be given to me to compensate for my hard work over the years. In addition, the other payments were also sincere. If I hadn't known their plan a long time ago, I would probably be moved to tears, but now after reading one by one I just felt disgusted by the content that was written for my sake. The divorce agreement was drafted by Lu Shuyuan alone, without the advice of Su Lian and Lucia. That is to say, he knew clearly all my efforts and grievances over the years, but he didn't care at all, and was even eager to get rid of me. I tried to take a deep breath, forced myself to calm down, and signed my name on the last page. Lu Shuyuan was smiling and said, "Let's go get the certificate while the Civil Affairs Bureau is still at get off work." I couldn't wait to leave this home legitimately, but I couldn't show it, so I had to slowly say, "Then transfer the money first and then get a divorce." Lu Shuyuan looked unhappy and was about to say something, but Lucia answered for him, "Of course." That night, I used the excuse of packing up the old house to move to an old and dilapidated house. Lucia pretended to be reluctant, but the excitement in her eyes was about to overflow. I stuffed him 5,000 yuan. "Oh, you finally returned to China. A trip? Mom doesn't have time to accompany you. Take this money." Lu Shuyuan's face changed. "Where did you get so much money?" He had already thought about divorcing me, so the money he gave was just enough for family expenses, and he refused to give a penny more, and my parents value boys over girls and left me nothing except a wife and children, so it was really unreasonable for him to take out 5,000, but I just wanted Lu Shuyuan to question me so that Lucia would know that, whether it was big money or small money, I had nothing, and the daily expenses you gave were actually not enough, so I helped people make PPTs online, thinking that when Xiaoya graduated, he would find a job in a house and I could also sponsor him. Having said that, I smiled awkwardly, but it was a pity that I had worked so hard all these years and only saved 5 or 6,000. I was afraid I couldn't help Xiaoya at all. My words were half true and half false. It was indeed the money I made by helping people make PPTs, but it was more than that. Sometimes, a PPT involving professional knowledge can make me earn thousands. Lucia was surprised and moved. She was surprised that Lu Shuyuan was so stingy with me, and she was moved that I only had 5 or 6,000 but gave almost all of it to him. He moved his eyes to look at Lu Shuyuan again, and was replaced by dissatisfaction and suspicion. In recent years, Lu Shuyuan has been talking nonsense, telling Lucia that he gave me a lot of money, but I was still not satisfied, and he also said that I was selfish and never cared about my daughter. Today is the day for the truth to come out. Lu Shuyuan didn't care. Not only me, but under Su Lian's instigation, he also planned to give up Lucia, so he didn't plan to maintain his good persona in front of his daughter, so there was no need to explain. His silence confirmed Lucia's guess. His face changed slightly and he was a little annoyed. Of course, it was not because of the conspiracy against me. He should be regretting not guarding against his father, but his expression soon eased again. "Come here, the money is in my hands," probably made him feel more at ease. When it came to my wife and Young, although Lu Shuyuan disliked it, he still insisted on staying to help me deal with him. I was worried about Lu Shuyuan probably wanted me to transfer the money to him. Lu Yixi had already noticed something from Lu Shuyuan's undisguised attitude, and she didn't plan to leave. The two seemed to be having a good time, but once their eyes met, sparks flew. I pretended not to notice, but I was very happy in my heart. Let's make a fuss. If you don't want me to have a good life, they won't have a good life either. In the end, Lucia didn't say anything to me and left with an irritable look on her face. When I was about to go to bed at night, I received messages from the father and daughter respectively. They asked me to beware of the other party and said that the other party was unreliable. When I transferred the money to the seller, I must tell them in advance. I replied the same words to Lucia and Lu Shuyuan, letting them rest assured, and they were really relieved. I bought tickets to go abroad and couldn't wait to leave. In this way, when I found out that I had lost both my money and my people, I would be helpless. I confirmed the boarding time of the two from the surveillance video, and while they were on the plane, I informed everyone of our divorce and showed our divorce agreement to some close relatives. When my mother-in-law and sister-in-law saw that Lu Xuan gave me so much money, they said it was impossible and wanted to contact Lu Xuan and Lucia, but they couldn't contact them because they were on the plane. Seeing this, my mother-in-law called the police, fearing that I would kill her for money. During the routine questioning, I told her that Lu Xuan had divorced me and was going abroad to find his ex-lover. The police easily found out his and Lucia's exit records and told my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law didn't believe it and said that I bought the tickets and it was a smokescreen for me to kill her for money. She didn't shut up until the police played the surveillance video of them boarding the plane. I was kind-hearted. I told my mother-in-law that the person Lu Xuan went abroad to find was none other than Su Lian, whom he despised to the core. My mother-in-law, who already suspected that she was abandoned by Lu Xuan, completely collapsed and cried loudly in the police station. Other relatives and friends from my mother-in-law's family saw that the police said that I was fine, so they naturally stopped saying anything. Most people knew that Lu Xuan had cheated on her, and coupled with my mother-in-law's connivance all the time, it seemed reasonable for him to abandon his old mother and first wife to find his old lover. However, many people couldn't understand why Lucia actually supported her father to do this. After all, in the eyes of outsiders, he had good grades and was polite to others. No one expected that he would do such a thing that destroyed their worldviews. Some relatives and friends asked me what was going on with a gossipy or comforting mentality. I spread the news that Lucia was bribed by Su Lian with several brand name bags, so that everyone could see Lucia's true face. I guessed that the relationship between father and daughter was very serious. Before the two were about to be born, I sent long messages to them separately, saying that because my mother-in-law didn't believe me, I wanted to call the police and the police would go to monitor me. Then I found out that Lu Xuan actually went out to find Su Lian. I was very sad, so I didn't plan to follow him. Lu Xuan remarried. I transferred the money from the sale of the house to the other party, and asked them to transfer the money to the seller of the house. From then on, don't contact or send messages. I changed my phone card and set off for the city I had always longed for. I also bought my parents' old and dilapidated house. Together with the money from Lu Xuan's big house, it was enough for me to buy a small apartment in that small city. I can still have enough food and clothing. Life is long and I want to enjoy life well. Half a year later, I saw Lu Xuan's name in the social news. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison abroad for manslaughter. I finished reading the news in great shock. It turned out that Su Lian, a professional mistress, started to deceive people when he got older. The former lover had very simple means. He rented a high-end villa and bought fake goods to package himself as very rich. Then he painted a particularly beautiful future for his lover to spend the rest of his life with. Lu Xuan was his eighth target. With his personality, he should have been the same as his ex-wife. After being cheated, he felt ashamed and did not dare to call the police. He returned home in disgrace. But for some reason he broke off relations with his mother and daughter. He had nothing left except the millions in his hands, so he was cheated into a pauper by Xuelian. Later, he asked around and found Xuelian to force him to pay back the money. Xuelian naturally refused and said something to provoke him. Lu Xuan accidentally beat him to death in anger. I have completely let it go. I am like a bystander just sighing. Lu Xuan could have been able to lie down with millions of savings and a monthly pension of several thousand. Unfortunately, he was not satisfied. I remembered my love. Well then, several news items about this incident were pushed to me, so I learned that Lu Yasi returned to China before completing his studies because he had a falling out with Lu Xuan. Lu Xuan stopped paying for his tuition, and his grandmother felt that he had taken all the money for himself, and she did not intend to support him with the money from selling the house. He had no academic qualifications and it was difficult for him to find a job, but he was used to a good life and could not endure hardship, so he chose to sign a contract with an unscrupulous company and became a live streaming anchor. A while ago, he was sued for selling products without any quality assurance, which almost disfigured someone. The company put all the blame on him and terminated the contract with him. He spent money lavishly, lost his source of income, and could not survive. Coincidentally, his own father killed someone, so he started a live broadcast to expose the family scandal. He talked about how irresponsible his father was, how he cheated on me in his early years, and how he abandoned me after I was no longer useful. He also talked about how snobbish his grandmother and aunt were and how they bullied me. Lucia tried hard to play the role of a little white flower who wanted to protect her mother, but was powerless to do anything. Unfortunately, netizens were not fools. They easily discovered from his flawed words that he knew Xuelian was a mistress and still lived in his house. He was deceived by Xuelian just like his criminal father. I couldn't help but be curious, so I went to Lucia's live broadcast room once. Almost everyone scolded him. He was crying and selling goods at the same time. His lack of bottom line made me dumbfounded. Not long after, I saw Lucia again on the news. He was arrested by the police during the live broadcast. Some people in the comment area said that he had known him before. He had good grades and a bright future. I don't know how he became like this. Someone replied that the upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked. His father is like that, so what if he studies well? This is exactly what I think in my heart. Lucia has determined his miserable life since he chose to get close to his hypocritical father. The full text is complete.